He'll fight for freedom wherever there's trouble. G.I. Joe is there.
Among the first releases upon G.I. Joe: A Real American Hero's initial launch in 1982 was the multi-purpose attack vehicle known as the Vamp. While starting out with an OD military green color scheme, the subsequent years would see the reuse of the Vamp and its various parts to release further variations of this famous G.I. Joe Jeep. When G.I. Joe Classified launched in 2020, we'd see something of a resurgence for the franchise in a larger 6-inch scale with vehicles to follow. And 2024 would see the release of the Vamp in its original color scheme along with its driver, which is the G.I. Joe character known as Clutch. The company Gridiron Studios had already been making specific loadouts and upgrade kits for the Classified series, so it was only natural that they'd have their eye on giving us a range of optional sets for the Vamp. Now, the G.I. Joe Vamp is very much an all-time classic, so what I'd like to do right now is show you the various upgrade kits that I picked out for my G.I. Joe Classified version. Let's begin. Walking you all through this journey, you'll have a selection of options on Gridiron Studios' website to load up your Vamp and give it a little extra flavor, so it can be hard to decide what to choose from. So in my case, I elected to follow the 5 specific phases that Gridiron Studios started out with for the Vamp, namely the roll cage for the back of the vehicle for phase 1, followed by the door gunner with the platform, along with the driver's side platform and stowage box that together combined to form phase 2. I then went on to add the rear gunner set, which came out as phase 3, the recon roof rack and doors to make up phase 4, and then the brush guard with a snorkel and front hood cage that comprise of phase 5. Note that upgrades not counted towards these phases do include things such as the minigun replacements for the top, there's off-road tires, there's the spare tire, and operator sets to hang onto the roll cage, just to name a few. So when it comes to phase 1 and my pick of options, you do need to take out the existing 50 cal weapons on the back of the Vamp in order to install the roll cage. You'll then need to disassemble the 50 cal set since it goes onto the roll cage in a very specific way, and then you put the specific ammunition rounds onto the 50 cal and tab it into the back of the roll cage. You can then hang the optional brackets along the sides, and that completes phase 1. I'll admit though that I wasn't actually very excited for the roll cage when I saw it on its own, but trust me, it does add to the overall look of the Vamp when you have the other upgrades. Adding the gunner side upgrade is also pretty simple. The platform just tabs in very easily, and the M60 tabs into the top. And then you can just store the extra ammunition and the other pieces like this, and then add the ammo rounds directly onto the M60 itself. On the other side, the driver's side platform serves as a bit of a counterweight, and then you can add the other bits onto it, such as the sawed-off 12 gauge that can store along the side, and then you can just keep the tow chain inside like this until you have another use for it, and this completes phase 2. The rear gunner platform and seat is what makes up phase 3, though you do need to remove the gas cans as well as the axe to fit it on. And the back portion here takes a little bit of effort to snap into place, so you do have to angle it around a little bit to fit it in properly. The gunner seat also goes on simply like this, all tabbed in, and then you complete the back platform like so. There are other brackets for the troops to grab onto if they're riding on the back, and then you can mount the Gridiron specific gas cans onto the sides. If I can give a small critique though, there isn't a lot of room for the rear gunner to tuck his legs in when he sits there, but overall you can see how phases 1, 2, and 3 add quite a lot to the overall look and functionality of the Vamp. Phase 4 consists of the roof rack and the 2 doors, but first you can add these covers to the lighting system, which you'll end up needing to do for both sides, and then you'll actually need to remove the lights because you'll be repositioning them relative to the new roof rack. The roof rack itself will take a bit of time to position and tab in properly, but it shouldn't take too much effort to click into place. The lights are then repositioned upside down onto the front of the roof rack, but do take some care as they may fall off easily. One downside is it's going to be difficult to take Clutch or other figures out of the Vamp seats, so it'll be easier to remove the roof rack if you want to do this. The 2 doors do take a little bit of angling to get it all to tab in properly, but once you've got it in place and you repeat the process on both sides, you can then mount the hanging brackets along the sides of the roof racks, and it really does end up making the Vamp look great. For Phase 5, which is the final upgrade for the purpose of this video, it consists of the brush guard, snorkel, and hood set, and this will require a little bit of assembly, which is pretty easy to do. The front hood ends up being replaced, so you take it out and install the one provided to you by Gridiron, and then you place the pieces on top of the new hood, which will tab into position very easily. The snorkel just hooks onto the driver's side, and again you'll need to angle it a little bit to get it into position. You can also use the cable and hook that they've given you for this set as part of your new winching system if you like, but I prefer to just use the Vamp winching system as it is and leave that in place. You can then tab the guard piece onto the front, and again, this will take some angling and repositioning to tab in properly, but eventually you should be able to just get it to snap in, and then you can mount the lights onto the front of this guard. I then go ahead and store the Gridiron rope and hook into the driver's side box, and here is your upgraded Vamp. Have a look at it by comparison to how we started, and let me know in the comment section if you like the upgraded look a lot better, or if you think that the Vamp in its original look was good enough. Additionally, you can take the camouflage netting from the brush gear set and drape it over the top of the Vamp, assuming of course you prefer to display it this way rather than having it rolled up and stored onto the front of the hood. Ultimately, as great as the Vamp already was, I was pretty excited for this set of upgrades. That said, price can always be a detractor for some, and without pulling any punches, I did pay significantly more for the upgrade sets than I did for the Vamp itself. So when it comes to making these purchases, you really have to know what you're getting into and decide whether or not you want to commit. Note that the world that Gridiron is building in the 1/12 scale has some great items that can look really nice alongside the Vamp. For example, I got this MPAC tank drone, and that matches the OD green scheme of the Vamp very well. And if you do decide you want to deviate from the particular set of Vamp upgrades I've shown here, you can also get various trailer attachments, or even a set known as the Ground Pounder to give it an APC type of look. And these are just a few out of many optional upgrades that the Gridiron team has to offer. And speaking of the world of Gridiron, you may also want to check out the mech suit upgrades that they have for the Cobra Trouble Bubble, as it gives this classic Cobra vehicle some pretty cool added functionality. Anyway, that's my look into the 5 initial phases worth of Vamp upgrades, and like I said, they aren't for everyone, but most people I've talked to are very happy with what they got. Anyway, if you happen to like this video, don't go anywhere just yet. I'm gonna put another Gridiron Studios video that you can click on right over here, or to learn about the history of GI Joe, a real American hero during its vintage run, you can click on this video right over here. Otherwise, yo Joe, and I'll see y'all next time. Thanks for watching, and take care.